My guest today is Bill Nash, a country singer-songwriter whose career spans 7 decades and 5 major record labels. And along with his wife and songwriting partner, Kim Nash, they have written hit songs for Reba McEntire, Diamond Rio, Eddy Arnold, and others. And Bill has a new EP coming out called Oh Hank, honoring the musical legacy and artistic style of Hank Williams Sr. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome legendary singer-songwriter Bill Nash and the new upcoming EP album, Oh Hank, to the show. Welcome, Bill.
Oh, man, thank you so much for it. It's great to be on your show and be a guest here. I just appreciate it more than you know, more than you know.
Well, how old were you when you became interested in music?
My mother was a piano player and a great one, too, because the old faith healers of her day, Oral Roberts, people like that, when they would come to the valley. I'm from far Texas. I'm from South Texas, 7 miles from Mexico. I was raised. But she was such a great pianist, and she would play for the revival meetings. And then when my brother and I got old enough to go to church choir practice, she said, "Y'all sing?" She didn't know we sang. I was sitting on the front row of Dad's church singing "I'll Fly Away" to the best of my ability, and the loudest one was the best. And nobody cared about pitch and all, but I was right on pitch from the day I came out to the world. I've always had that gift, and I appreciate that from the good Lord. So Mama said, "Well, let's try singing something," and we did. My brother was 4 years older than me, and he had a bass voice. He grew up at 13. He was 6'1" by that time. I never grew into his clothes. I still clothes in my closet I'm waiting to grow into because I never got as tall as him and all. But I'm rambling, aren't I? I don't mean to. I'd like to get to the point. Come on, Bill, get to the point. That's how I started, though. We sang as the Nash Family Trio for 3 or 4 years around McAllen, Far, Brownsville, and all those places for the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Clubs, all the civic clubs, the churches. And we went to New York to sing for the Grandmothers Convention. And we sang that night, and the grandma gave us 3 tickets to NBC Studios. We went over there, and the first place we got was Gene Rayburn of the Match Game. It was his show. It was called Do Re Mi. It was his first outing into network TV. He was already a big star in radio in New York City. He was quite a personality, so that was easy move to. This is 1959, so you can imagine how young television was. It was still black and white. So, but his spotters spotted my mother and said, it was a musical show, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, that kind of thing. Would be a guest on our show. That's how they recruited their guests. So we said, okay, but we got to get to the Hugh Downs show, which starts in a little while. We got tickets to that too. And they said, okay, we'll get you out of here. And they put us first. And when Mr. Rayburn finished the show and he took his jacket off and his tie, he came out to interview all the guests, Ward. And when he walked out, my brother stood up. We were on a riser, and Dave was 6'1" by that time. And so he towered over Mr. Rayburn, and he said, "We're the Nashes from far," stuck his hand out and said, "You want to hear us sing?" I mean, he knew we were rednecks from the beginning. And we had on our best clothes, too. We had on that red cowboy shirt with the snaps with the embroidered white roses. We were fit. We were ready for any kind of network thing, they'd throw at us. But we didn't expect it. But Gene Rayburn said, "Yeah, I want to hear y'all sing." They rolled the piano out. My mother sat down, and we played some old song. I'm not sure what it was. Something like "I'll Fly Away," one of the up-tempo things. And, man, he was like taken aback because our sound was really, we were tight. And, my mother's clear bell voice and my harmony with my brother's bass, it was really 2 kids and their mom. And he said, "Give me a minute." And he walked over and took the music director of NBC, and they went over in the corner. We were watching them talk. Well, we were interested in getting to the Hugh Downs show. Like, why don't they hurry up? Well, when they came back, they said, "Would y'all sing on our TV show in the morning?" It's like network television from far Texas to network television in one fell swoop. I just, the next morning we sang, and the crowd went crazy. And on and on. And when it was over, Mr. Rayburn said, "Y'all are coming with me." He didn't even tell us anything. Had a limousine waiting out front of NBC Studios. We go down the elevator, and that's the same studios where they do Saturday Night Live still, and all those places. We got in the limo, pulled up in front of this huge church across town. I don't know where we went. We were in a cab in New York. We were dodging other cabs. So it said Columbia Records on the top of it. And it's like, wow. So we get out and we go in, and there was a famous jazz pianist, and I'm trying to think of his name. His biggest hit was Take Five, and I'm trying to think of who that was, but he was in the middle of a recording session. So Gene Rayburn knew everybody in New York City. And he went in when he took a break, he said, when he stopped playing, recording that one take, would you mind to take a break and let the Nashes do a demo tape so that they could be considered for a label deal? And he said, oh, sure, I'll be glad to. And he shook hands with us. In those days, too, I regret it that we didn't have cameras like we have now on our cell phone. I would have gotten pictures of him and us and on and on. But he took a break and we did a little demo tape. Came home 6 months later, we got a contract in the mail. Mr. Rayburn became our manager, and they signed us to a deal, and we recorded that first album when I was 13 years old. That's how we got into what you call the big time.
Yeah, well, my gosh, big time, you would think Nashville, but big time for you ended up being New York City.
Oh, man. Well, he was Perry Como's producer, and Ernie Altschuler was his name. And the guy was so special. I hate to use the word precious, but I love that word. But the times were just so, if in a spiritual term, you would say it was anointed, but it was just a special time. The way we did that whole album in 5 hours, we were so rehearsed. We just had to stop and rest our voices for a minute. But that album it did a really great thing for us. And they asked us for another album almost within 2 months of that one because it got such rave reviews. And we were in magazines. I mean, it was all an incredible
Well, let me ask you, Bill, because I'm curious, because I've interviewed all of the closest contacts that Elvis ever had. I mean, like Wink Martindale, Jerry Schilling, the list goes on.
Yeah.
If 1959, when you recorded the album, was it recorded on tape or was it recorded on an acetate disc?
Well, it was still tape. Well, I mean, not still, but we went. It was I don't know if it was a 8-channel or 12 or 16.
I was just curious because, I think of Elvis's first record was done on an acetate when Sam Phillips brought it to the radio station.
Hey, you know what's interesting? The acetate, because they used to do that. Back here on my wall, I have the first recording ever of a song that was written by Chris Christopherson, and I'm the first artist to record a Chris Christopherson song. And they made an acetate for me at the studio from the board. It's a hot acetate, and that's how I got to hear it before the record came out. So
that was my next question. So how did you become the first artist to record a song written by Chris Christopherson?
Well, my story actually goes right along with that. Our second album we did for Columbia was in Nashville, and Don Law, Ernie Altschuler, our producer in New York City, said, I think y'all would do better if you went to Nashville and we put you with Johnny Cash's producer, Don Law. So we'd made such great friends in New York. Even the Yankees liked us, man. It was like, come on. So we went to Nashville, and that's why that we went there. And that year we opened the Columbia Records Parade of Stars at the Grand Ole Opry, featuring Johnny and June, Marty Robbins, Flatt and Scruggs, Little Jimmy Dickens, all those people. We got to hobnob and meet them. It was, oh my God, I can't even tell you what that meant. And we opened the show again that year. We did that 2 years in a row. So my brother got drafted, and that's why the trio he got drafted. So I went back to high school. We'd been touring and stuff. And I ended up coming to the University of Houston in 1965 to start that year. I think 64, and then into 65. And I won the talent show. They had a thing for all the new guys who were coming to town. It's, what do you call that? Not initiation, but anyway, we were there.
Orientation.
Orientation. That's what I was trying to. Thank you, Ward. Hey, you need to stick around, man. I'm going to need your help some more. But I sang the old Hank Williams. This is where my new product coming out, a tribute to Hank. I'd been singing that because I had to work my way through college. So I sort of had to go away from my gospel music. And my aunt had built a lounge, so they're a quarter of a mile from my dad's church. And so I went down there, I started singing for her, and then the people put a kitty up there and people put money in. And Hank Williams was the first guy, the two waitresses that worked there said, we'll help you learn some country songs. So they taught me, hey, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? And I would do that, and the crowd would go, man, that's great. It's just so on. And we'd do, I'm so lonesome I could cry. And it goes on down jambalaya, you know, and on and on and on. And that's how I got started in country. And I came to Houston. And in a year or so, I'd finally gotten where I could sing in a couple of clubs. And one night, the Marty Robbins show came to Houston to the Coliseum downtown. Before they built the Astrodome and all that, it was our Coliseum downtown Houston. And the booking agent from that brought Dave Dudley, who was on Mercury Records, out. And there was a couple other acts I can't remember. I don't know if you know who Dave Dudley was, but I always liked it. I'll take anything leaving town today. And I always wanted to sing bass, but never could. So they sent the tape to Jerry Kennedy. They called him the Star Maker in Nashville, who had brought Jerry Lee Lewis back out of mothballs from singing. They brought him over from rock and roll to country, and it changed the complexion. Jerry hit the ground running. I mean, the guy still sold millions of records. Nobody had just tapped the countryside of him till Jerry Kennedy. So I get to Kennedy's office. They sent me a Mercury Records contract in the mail. I opened it up, and I didn't know all that lawyer lingo, you know, and I just signed it, sent it back. So I'm making my own self laugh. You can't do that. They got so many gotchas in the new contracts. I always say the new young artist, please, even if you're broke, borrow money from somebody and let that lawyer read it now before he has to read it later when you get sued and they sue you. It's a sue thing. So, but anyway, I have a 10 o'clock appointment with Jerry Kennedy right on 16th Avenue South. You know, that's where the boys make the noise in Nashville on 16th Avenue. I think that the rhyme goes. So I get there. Jerry comes in almost right behind me, and his secretary, Ellen Wood, she says, hey, Bill, this is Jerry, Bill. We go in Jerry's office, and he sits down, picks up the phone, dials a number, and he says, is the janitor there? And I'm going, the janitor? You know, I'm thinking, I'm just a kid anyway from far. I had barely got to Houston, you know. He says, come on over. Bill wants to hear your song. And well, Jerry had told me on the phone he was going to have some of those famous songwriters write songs for me and not worry about material. And I thought, this is crazy, man. So in the door, like in 5 minutes, the door opens, and here comes a guy with black guitar, and he's got on a T-shirt, and he's got a burr haircut and faded out jeans, and he sat down, and I'm crossing my legs. You can't see it. I'm crossing my leg. He crossed his legs, and he had hush puppy shoes on, and they had holes in the bottom of his shoes. And I thought, this guy can't be too successful with holes in the bottom of his shoes. Well, it was Chris Christopherson. That's who that was. He was working as a janitor at Columbia Recording Studios, and he told me personally, he said, I got the job so I could pitch songs to the artists as they came in to record songs. You know what, man? The guy was able to put his pride aside. He was a captain in the Army. He was a helicopter pilot that flew offshore back on, out to the platforms that were drilling oil and take the guys back and forth. And he was writing songs while he was doing that. So it was, we started just a short conversation because Kennedy was always in such demand. It was like we were on his schedule. So sing your song for him, Chris, Jerry says. And he sang, well, you know what he wrote? There's another story right behind this one. So for the good times, don't look so sad. I know it's over, but life goes on and this old world will keep on turning. Here's the line that got me. Let's just be glad, glad we had some time to spend together. There's no need to watch the bridges that we're burning. And I went, my spine had a little, I mean, it went zzz like that. Lay your head upon, and you know how Chris sings. I mean, he talked like this, you know, hey, Bill, you're sure good to meet you. He had that rough voice. And when he sang the same way. Now, all of you Chris Christopherson fans, don't jump on me, but nobody had heard him. And I thought, well, this guy don't sing so good, but boy, that song is knocked out. And I said, when he finished, I found out he'd been pitching it for 2 years and nobody would cut it. Nobody cut it. Maybe it's how he sang it. Maybe it's, I don't know. They said he was ahead of his time. The song was probably because it said, hold your warm and tender body close to mine. Nobody had ever used that before till him. And when he got done, I mean, it was like, come on. It was like I had an experience. And I said, man, I love it. I said, I love it. I hit the desk and he said, you do? I went, yeah. How could you? I didn't think he should be surprised because it's been recorded now umpteen number of times. And it's been done up tempo. It's been done by R&B artists. You know, every country artist probably got it on his album.
Well, how long did it take you to figure out, or how many years after you recorded Chris's song that he actually became famous, which then adds to your own story that you recorded the first song that he ever, he's been pitching, but you were the artist that recorded it first.
I am.
When did he get famous?
Okay, so before you leave that acetate thing, I've got it hanging on my wall. You can see it just over my head. They burned that one from me for the studio. It's the only one of its kind. There was not another one made because Jerry Kennedy lived there in Nashville, and he could just walk over to the studio. He could access. I wanted to hear it because I wanted to keep listening to it because the band over across the street, Jerry Kennedy, only used the greatest musicians in the world. But I went back the next year. And I'm getting to the point of when he became a star. But the next year, he would always come and have lunch with me, and we'd hang out and go to places. Of course, I always bought because he was broke. He was living, from what I understand later, he was living in an abandoned building. He was tending bars sometimes at night, and he was doing that. And his wife even left him. He told me, said she wouldn't stay. And I felt so sorry for him. Later on, we were doing a TV show together at that point. But somewhere after that, here's the crazy thing. I'm getting two things together, but let me tell you this. I said, Chris, I want another song from you. And he said it, I'll say it the way Chris would say. He said, well, Bill, you know, I about ruined your career with that first one. No, I said, I love your writing, man. I really want. And he said, well, I got one that I've got to finish. I said, well, can you finish it? He said, well, I got to get real drunk to do it. And I said, well, what would, what,
I love it.
I hear that the preacher's kid is talking to the janitor, and we're trying to figure out how he can finish this next song. Since he'd never had a hit, he didn't believe in himself maybe anymore, but he gave up everything in that other life to come to Nashville. So he believed in himself completely. So he said, I need a 6-pack of beer. So I gave him $3. That's all you needed in those days. And he said, I'm going to the alley downtown Nashville. And I said, well, the session, and Jerry Kennedy and I were both in on this. And he said, the session's at 2. You know, the unions in Nashville run the sessions. They run 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the evening. So Chris, try to get back. Hopefully you'll get it done. And Jerry and I went ahead and started listening to other songs because we didn't know if he'd make it back or not. At 3 minutes, Jerry and I waited till the last minute, and we got up to walk across the street to go to Columbia Studios to record, and here he comes. And he's drunk. And he said, hey, Bill, I got your song. I said, okay. We went back, and even though the musicians and everybody were ready over at the studio, well, Kennedy and I sit back down in Jerry's office, and you know what he plays for me? Take the ribbon from your hair.
Are you kidding?
Take it loose and let it fall. Lay it soft upon my skin, like the shadows on the wall.
I know that song. Grew up on it.
Man, we both, Kennedy and I both, and Kennedy even, he got demonstrative. He said, "It's a smash." And I wish you could have seen Chris. He, he just was like unbelieving this. I don't believe this. And let's go across the street and cut it. Within 30 minutes of him pitching it to us right there, we cut the song. We cut it. So here's the great sad story. I get home and I'm all pumped about the session. What a great song. And I got my draft notice. I got drafted. I tear up now thinking about it. What it could have meant. Because, boy, Jerry Kennedy kept Reba McEntire on album after album after album and kept working it because he's that kind of guy, believing in his artist. And, I mean, it proves true what Kennedy thought of Reba Nail. And we appreciate and love her. We'll talk about her in a little while. But, man, you know what? It was such a knife to my heart. And I didn't mind to go, and I did go. I didn't try to get out of it.
But were you able to release the song?
It never came out. It never came out. Mercury dropped me from the label. Hey, listen, you got to picture yourself in the Vietnam War era, and it escalated. And they were calling even the bedwetters got their call back, and they were accepted. I had a buddy that they didn't take him because he was a bedwetter. They called him back, said, "You're now in." And they drafted me to the Army, and I was able to go get in the reserves, the Air Force reserves. And I did a tour of duty for about 4.5 years. Every once a month, I would show up. I was later in my career, if we talk about it, I mean, if I'm still doing okay as a guest on your show.
You're doing great, Bill. You're doing great.
I appreciate it, man. So I went to living in Hollywood there. I ended up on Capitol Records as a pop artist, but I flew in to come do my duty every weekend. I was a weekend warrior. They called me. I did 4.5 months of active duty. Then we went on that protocol for the rest of my time in the Air Force. So it's something that, that Chris never forgot me. He never. And I tear up. I guess I tear up easy, don't I? You're talking about things. That guy was one of the greatest individuals I ever met in my life. And he was so smart. He was a Rhodes Scholar. And just sitting talking with him before he was ever a star, before he had anybody else ever cut his songs, I just loved to talk with him. And we would talk for hours and would do, Chris, I got to go to the session or whatever it was. Well, I didn't see him again when Mercury released me because I ended up going to the West Coast. So my career took a turn to pop music and Capitol Records. And it was about at least 3 or 4 years, somewhere in that period of time. Man, Ray Price came out with For the Good Times, sold 1 million records, reinvigorated his career. And I was happy for Ray because he and I we're acquaintances. How we weren't close friends or anything, but we were acquaintances. And I met him a couple of times, and always such a gentleman's gentleman. And I just thought about how that could have worked for me.
Without the draft notice, that would have been life-changing in more ways than one. So if you were the one that recorded Chris Christopherson's first song, which artist was the first one to record one of your songs?
Well, we had some smaller star folks that would cut this and that. I didn't really. My writing career started when Eddy Arnold cut a song I had written for some friends of mine who had an anniversary, and the husband called and said, "Hey, we're coming to your show tonight." We were playing in Houston. I was playing in Houston, and do something special for my wife because it's our something. I forget how many years it was. And I just wrote down, it's a song I wrote. And now I'm thinking of Take the Ribbon from Your Hair. I can't think of my own song. What is it? It's called 80 Years Old. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, the Hold Me Till the Last Waltz Is Over. You may have heard it. It was a regional hit for me. And hold me till the last dance is through. I love you forever and ever and always go home with you. I like that part of that. Why I wrote that line is because in Texas we say dance with the one that brung you and go home with the one that you came with. It didn't always happen in the nightclubs, but that's why I wrote the song like that. And so Eddy Arnold heard it and he loved it. And he recorded it on RCA. The next year, he did another album on RCA, and he recorded another song that I wrote. And I'm trying to think of the title of my own song. I'm looking on the wall at the album he signed for me. On my walls, I got what we call my wall of shame. I got pictures of all these folks that God has allowed me the privilege of working with. I met some great people in show business. I really did. There are some scoundrels too, in the hinterlands. But these folks like Reba McEntire, you talk about her, she is of the first quality. I mean, she is like herself when you meet her in person. We were at her home. She mentions, I'm looking at her book right there, that she mentions us as staff writers. We got signed to her as staff writers. And we wrote a song for her called, Come On, Bill. I almost sang "Take the Ribbon from Your Hair." No, Bill.
That song will stick in your head. That's for sure.
Let me look on this album and see which song it is of ours that we got going on. Well, this was a 3 million sale album. I'm having a mental block. Oh wait, where's that?
Well, the song ended up on her Greatest Hits Volume 2, correct? And ended up selling 11 million albums.
It is 11.5 million albums in sales. Wow. But Kim sings it, and that's why I'll come up with the title in a few minutes. But that sounds funny, doesn't it? Yeah, this song that's been played. I was in Nashville last week, and our representative at BMI is Mary. And I said to Mary, how many times now has our song been played? And she pulls up her laptop, goes to it. 1,019,548 times that song has been played to the world. Wow. Thank you, Reba. Thank you, Reba. It's called They Asked About You. They asked about you, and suddenly it all came back to me. And all the walls around my heart came crashing at my feet when they asked about you. And it goes on, you can hear Kim's version. It was the demo, but it's not out. We may put that out someday. I don't know. We cut it in Nashville, and Reba, they had a call award for her. And of course we'd written for Sony by this time, and I'd come back from Hollywood and was back toward things. And I met Kimberly, and she was 19 and I was 35, and her dad didn't like me, but her mother did. So that's all you need if you got mama on your side. So we got married a couple of years later, and then we had this beautiful son. And I'll tell you that story if you'd like to hear it, because it's a great story. I know you're a man of faith yourself, but I've got two stories open at the same time with you. Let me park the Reba thing, because it was after this happened. We were living in Houston again, and one day we had to take Billy to Texas Children's for a checkup because he was not feeling good. And turns out they diagnosed him with leukemia. They said, my little 2.5-year-old boy, that I'd waited all my life to have kids. And now this time I think I was 40 years old, something like that. And I thought, oh no, God finally gave me a baby. Show business is not conducive to family life, as you and I know, because the hours are crazy, and all the people that come in and out of your life, especially the wife, can get really jealous of the beautiful women that you're always around, because it's show business. And but Kim was never like that, and she and I, 43 years we've been married now, and she's still the love of my life. But we're there, and the doctors tell us leukemia, and we're dumbfounded. We're in trauma at that table with all the white coat guys around us and the nurses. And I can't even tell you, I couldn't even think. at the time, and they laid out a protocol for 3 years. So they sent us home and came back 10 days later to start their protocol. And they took all the blood work again, Ward, and they took twice as long this time. And that worried me. Then Dr. Starling comes in, and he's got this report in his hands, and he says, Mr. Nash, I don't know how to tell you this. Well, how would that set you up, Ward?
It would sound like bad news.
Yeah, well, naturally we all they say we have more of a negative side than a positive side. And so immediately my mind crashed. I thought he's going to tell me this has gone up faster than we thought, blah, blah, blah. Instead, he says, I don't know how to explain this, but your son's blood has gone normal.
You got a miracle.
Well, yeah, and I was on stun just like that. Just like I said, normal? I said, it's a miracle. And he said, well, we call it instant remission. And I said, I don't care. It's a miracle. And I was jumping all around the room, and they know it. They thought I was crazy. But we asked Jesus Christ to heal him with just Kim and me. And I wished for the John Osteens of the world, or the Oral Roberts or somebody. And I just said, Lord, I'm not a faith healer. I don't know what to say. I'll tell it everywhere I go the rest of my life if you'll heal my little boy. And I know you can't make deals with God. But let me tell you, and to your listeners, don't forget to pray over your situation, because God loves us all and he hears us all. And Jesus Christ gave his life for us. He loved us so much. And I'm just so thankful to God. And I just did my shout out. Dude, y'all, whether you have to edit that out or not, I said my part, and on and on. But man, a man of faith like yourself, I appreciate you, Ward, very, very much. And
well, you're welcome. And I'm not cutting this out because the world needs to know.
Hey, if they just knew how much God loved them for real, and all the things he's done over the millennium that we've been in existence, I think they would run to him and not just walk. They would run to him, because I have many occasions thinking I was the worst sinner in the world and never would be forgiven. But I found out about God's grace and God's mercy. And I'll preach the sermon if you like. I mean, but the only prerequisite is you got to take an offering afterwards.
Hey, that works, Bill. That works. And but I've got to ask you. You had this brand new upcoming EP called "Oh Hank." So, what was it about Hank Williams Sr. that you wanted to explore?
You know what? In all my searching for what's the right thing to believe in spirituality, because it's the most important decision you'll make in your whole life, is where am I going to spend eternity? Because it's forever and ever and ever, and it never ends, instead of spending all your time worried about today and not tomorrow. So with Hank, sometimes, just like what I'm going to do right now. Wait a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I probably have to do that. I don't know why I'm doing this, Ward, but it just felt right.
I love it.
So okay, as long as you're in on it with me, I'll go. But this E slips because I just put a new string on here yesterday. 1 second, I'm holding up your whole. If you play this in London, you don't have to play this part. Hold on, I've almost got it. Okay, so I'm playing. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. My favorite Hank song. I would play it when I just wanted to chill out, And then when I ended it, I kept doing this. I don't know, you can see my guitar. And it went. Oh, and I had a different tune with, oh, Hank, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I would have said a prayer when your soul took flight that cold winter's night. All alone there in the back of that long blue Cadillac. What a lonesome way to die. I'm getting the tune all messed up. Makes me want to cry. Oh, Hank, Lord knows I'd love to listen to all the songs you would have written if you'd only found your way off that lonely lost highway. Oh, Hank. Oh, Hank. Was it really just your time? You closed the show at 29 with so much more left to say. The whole world lost so much that day. And I started to cry, just like I'm doing now. It just came from God. And I thought to myself, they always told me as a young man, teenager, the great songs are great. And the talk was he was a hopeless drunk. He died in the back of his Cadillac. And some of the folks that are kind of judgmental was like, I hate to say served him right, but that was the way they felt. And I just thought that was so wrong. And I started thinking about, but wait a minute. He also wrote this. It's what I wandered so aimless, life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. What do you think?
Well, you know what, Bill? When I was listening, because I was able to listen to all of the tracks on your new upcoming EP.
Oh, okay.
And when I was listening to you sing I Saw the Light, I kept thinking, what a song that Hank wrote. And it's just a stark contrast to how Hank Williams Sr. left this life.
Exactly. And to me, the grace of God, the Bible says we're saved by grace through faith. He said right there, then when Jesus came like a stranger in the night, and praise the Lord, I saw the light. He accepted Christ right there. Well, in my opinion, he went to heaven. And I'll tell you what, another little fact about him that I didn't know till I started researching him more, he had spina bifida. And the world sometimes doesn't know that. I mean, do you know, Ward, how painful spina bifida is? It's like excruciating pain constantly. And the only thing the painkillers they had back in the day in 1952, 51, when he's going through the height of his career, yet the height of pain and on, he only had alcohol. That's all he had to kill the pain. And, if you've ever known anyone that was going through like painful disease, like cancer, the cancer patients, they would do anything to get out of pain. It wouldn't matter what it was, almost. And I sincerely mean that, because we've been back and forth to Texas Children's Hospital many times to sing for the children of trauma there. And it's like the pain that comes with that is incredible. So I think because he accepted Christ, the mercy of God and the grace of God, he went to heaven. So the last verse says, can't wait to hear you singing with the angel voices ringing. And I forgot my last two lines.
That's all right, because when I listened to the song "Oh Hank," and what I loved about the song was it takes you back to think about not just Hank Sr., but all the other stars that passed away early, and you wonder what would have been like if they would have lived longer. What songs did they have that we will never hear?
That we missed.
That we missed. And I had, this has been a couple of years, but I interviewed Hank Williams Sr.'s, I have to get the timeline, great grandson. He's number 4. And I didn't realize this. And he told me that Hank Sr. has never been inducted into the Grand Ole Opry because he was banned. And I'm like,
I didn't know that.
How long do people go and never forgive the wrongs of those that maybe they don't understand? And you kind of give me a whole new, you put Hank Sr. in a whole new light. I didn't know he had spina bifida.
Hey, take that scripture where Jesus said, let he who is without sin throw the first stone. How can you get such, you said it, judgmental people sending a guy to hell who wrote, I saw the light. Come on, get with the program. And you can get forgiveness yourself if you just ask. It's a grace of God. It's a gift. You just ask for the gift. Forgive me, Lord.
It is. Now, I love the song on this new EP that your son Jimmy wrote, "Locked in Your Loving Arms."
Isn't that a great
it really has that Hank Williams Sr. style, with a bit of that gospel flair to it.
Yeah, let me see. I keep doing this to you, and I can't, because I'm excited to be on your show. I'm not getting all the words. You got me woozy, you, and I can't stand up straight. You got me thinking that I'm not thinking great, but something tells me there's really no need for a lie. You got me tied up, locked in your loving arms.
It's a great song.
Yeah. Hey, I wish I'd written it. Well, I sort of did have a hand in writing it, did I not?
You did. I know that the new EP comes out June the 6th. And you know what? It's funny because when I was listening to the album, I got to thinking, because I've interviewed so many up and coming country stars to the country legends, but I love the fact that artists like Hank Sr., Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline still have a very strong influence on up and coming artists today in country music. And for you, you're actually keeping that flame alive with this new EP.
You know, I hadn't thought about it like that. I'm glad you brought that up. You are a brainy guy. You know that? No, that's right, though, isn't it? I mean, my thought was maybe somebody else will get it. That if God would forgive Hank, that the people, I don't know who you'd call it. Well, one way I know that people were doing that is because Christopherson and I remained friends. And one day I saw him on TV and he said, "What's that song he wrote? If you don't like Hank Williams, then you can kiss my," and then I'll let you guess what. I thought, Chris, boy, you know, hey, let it be. But I love Hank. I didn't get to know him, but I will see him again. And we will sit by that river that we rode at. And by the way, Kim and Jimmy and I started the song, and I always bring them in on my songs because they always make my stuff better. But we included a great friend of ours in Nashville named Don Goodman. And Goodman's the one that wrote Angels Among Us for Alabama. He's got 3 pages of typewritten hits by rock artists, Tina Turner. I said, "How did you get a cut by Tina Turner, a country guy like you?" And I forget his answer. He's kind of slow going talking, you know, but he ain't slow upstairs, man. He's a great songwriter. He believed in me a long time ago when we were living in Nashville. We were between writing deals, and I called him and said, "Would you consider writing with me?" Because Kim's kind of burned out at the moment. He said, "Sure." He called me Wilbur. "Hey, Wilbur, come on over." And I called him Orville. "Hey, Orville," you know, the Wright brothers, and we're flying high, blah, blah, blah. This is real corn, you know. Gord, you've got me at my being my real self.
I love it, Bill. I love it. And I've always kind of wondered, because with you, you know, you and Kim and Jimmy being singer-songwriters, have you ever thought about putting an album together? And you probably have, but I'll just make sure. Have you ever thought about putting an album together of all of the songs that you've written that other people have recorded, like Reba did?
Well, that's not a bad idea. Actually, I'm looking over here on my wall. There was a group called Highway 101 that recorded a song that was Roy Orbison-esque.
I remember Highway 101.
Well, and now what's her name? Do you remember?
No, I do not. But I can see, I can picture them in my mind, but I cannot remember their names.
I can go over there and get that off the wall and read it to you if you really want to.
No, you're cool. It's good.
Okay. She asked me to come and sit in when she recorded our song, and I appreciated the invitation, as if I knew something, you know, more about it. But when you've been in the studio, I've been in the studio now since I was 13. That's really started my career. We did some things before we got to New York, local radio. We were on radio all over the valley and stuff like that. My first recording, I was 5 years old. I know you want to hear this.
Oh, yeah.
I was 5 years old, and they took me to Corpus Christi. We were living in the valley. We went up. My uncle had a church in Corpus Christi, and there was this recording studio there, and that's where they still were doing the acetate recordings right off your voice, going right into the microphone, going into that needle that they cut that record from. and it was the Bible, because I'm 5 years old. My dad's a pastor, so I'm singing at church like the Bible, yes, that's the look for me, and big old voice and carrying on. So they took me to the studio, right? Well, I froze up. It's like, I don't want to, Mama. I don't, and I started crying, and my dad spatted my bottom. Son, sing the song, and it wasn't hard. He didn't hurt me, and I love my daddy, and so. The engineer turned the record button on, I guess, at 5. I don't know how he got it where it's time for me to sing. And they took a recording of it. I wish I still had it. The Bible, yes, that's the book for me. Yes, we lost that acetate somewhere along the road. So that's my first recording.
Yeah, that's like Sun Records. Sun Records recorded directly to the acetate back in the day. That's how Elvis's first song came to be.
Man, I think about all 6 of those major stars that guy discovered. I mean, what a gold mine. I mean, one attracted the other, and they get together. I saw that album. They made an album together when they were in a convertible, and there was Jerry Lee. And, of course, you'll have to probably help me remember everybody, but Elvis and Johnny Cash. And
Carl Perkins.
Carl Perkins, yeah.
The $1 Million Quartet.
Yeah, for sure. What a trophy case, man. Sam Phillips, I don't know. He had to be a real open guy, because when Elvis went in to record, nobody had ever sounded like, hey, hey, baby, that old Elvis thing. But the women loved it. That's all you need. If the women in this country get behind you, you're good. You're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I know that the brand new EP, Oh Hank, debuts June the 6th.
June 6th.
And what else do you have coming out after that?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with it, man. Let's speak of Hank Williams Jr. for a minute. I met him once. I was on his bus he invited me in, and he won't remember it. Of course, it was just one of the nights in his life, but he was at a concert down in Mississippi, and I was playing in Jackson, and he was at a big deal with some other stars. But I thought about if this should take off. See, we did it like this. The first song was, I Can't Help It If I'm Still in Love with You. And my idea that I told Jimmy and Kim I'd like to do is how Willie Nelson did The Red-Headed Stranger, where Willie finished the song, but the music kept going with a little stream that took him to the next song. And that's what we did. And although you could get them separately, but they are in a medley of 3. So you get, I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. And then it goes, and then, oh, Hank, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I would have said a prayer. And then it ends. Then it has a little, then the picking comes in. Once like a blind man, I wandered alone. 3 Hank songs that take you from there to his tribute, and that. Then we got 2 Jimmy songs you haven't heard. One, I bet, I don't know if it's on that album, the EP that they gave you, but Locked in Your Lovin Arms is on there. And then he's got another one. I said Locked in Your Lovin Arms, didn't I?
Yeah, that one I heard. Well, I listened to all of the songs on the EP.
Okay. And on the EP,
what, 6? There's 6 songs on the EP?
Either 5 or 6. Jimmy's the executive producer, but I'm not executive producer, but he's the producer of that album. Well, anyway, they're both in fashion of Hank Williams. I've been thinking loads about you every steady down. All I really know about you is every little thing. I've been thinking loads about you. And then he goes, it makes me feel like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And it's like, wow, I heard him. He said, Dad, you got to do the yodel thing right there. So
it was pure Hank Williams.
That's what I thought. Man, I just want, to me, it's like saying to the world, do like Hank Williams, even if you think you're the worst sinner that ever hit the ground. And Roy Head told me one time, you remember Roy Head? One of my best friends came and helped me with my charity work, Champion Skids Camp. Did I get a good plug in there? Roy would always, Royce, and I try to get him to go to Lakewood with me. And he'd say, that rock and roll talk. Hey, I'm gonna go to that big church we one of these times, but I'm not ready yet. I got some other stuff to do. And, unfortunately, he died in his home. He fixed breakfast for Carolyn, went back to lay down a minute. That's the last we heard from Roy. But he kept saying that ceiling would fall in at that church if I walked in there. I think he was kind of proud to be the worst sinner, that he thought he was the worst sinner in the world. I said, well, you've never killed anyone. What about that part of life? You haven't done that, so God can forgive you. And we do a benefit every year. If you don't mind, if I just say it like it is, at Mo's place in Katy, Mo has given more unknown stars. Blake Shelton, before he was a star, Mo booked him. Man, there's some other great stars. If I could just remember there's a bunch of them. And he's known for that, giving a new young artist a chance. But we were introduced by a friend of mine named Bruce Baker. You're going to hear about his son, Hayden Baker, too, who just got a song cut by Ronnie Dunn of Brooks and Dunn. And Hayden's from here. I've known him since he was a baby. Small shout out. Brad Paisley has picked up on Hayden Baker because he's such a great picker. You'll hear about him. But Dodie Osteen comes to my Texas Best Music Fest, as she has for the last 6 years, and sits right there just at the edge of the dance floor. She opens that nightclub with a prayer. And it's like, because I come from the background of a church, and yet I've worked in nightclubs for 25 years with a band and touring. And sometimes I found more forgiveness in the nightclub world than in the church world. And I don't mean that but some people get where they think they're everybody's judge, and they really shouldn't judge. The Bible tells you not to do that. But we're all human. They can get forgiveness. It's all because of what Jesus did on the cross. But when Dodie comes and says the prayer, then we have a concert, and we do our country songs. I do Hold Me. We do the Reba Mac thing. We do the Diamond Rio. We haven't talked about Diamond Rio much, but they're somewhere on my wall right behind me.
Well, we're going to do that in the second interview after I read your book.
You mean you're going to have me back after all this?
I'm going to have you back because I'm going to sit down. I'm going to read Saint, Sinner, and Singer, and I'm going to dig out more stories, and we're going to have some more fun.
Man, well, if talking about yourself is fun, I still enjoy all the times that God has given me with all the people. Next time we talk, I'm looking at Joanne Cash Yates. That's Johnny's youngest sister. She's the only living sibling of his still alive, and she still lives in Nashville, but she's retired from their ministry. They used to do a ministry at the Ernest Tubb Theater there in the Opryland complex, and Kim and I used to sing for them on numerous occasions. They would call, and we would go. And when Johnny came to church, that's a story we should tell, because they always had me sit with him. Because can you believe this? People would come up from the church audience right while the preacher's preaching and ask Johnny for an autograph.
I want you to save those stories for the next interview we're going to do after I read your book. But for everyone in the Houston, Texas area, so you have this event coming up June 1st at Mo's Place, and that's in Katy, Texas?
Katy, Texas. And if you go online to the charity we do is called championskidscamp.org, and it's champions with an S, kids with an S, it's plural, .org. There's all the information on it that's on this flyer that I had positioned so I could show it to you. And here it is. We got Scotty Alexander, who was with Wayne Newton for 8 years, was his band leader. This guy can pick and grin. There's Hayden Baker and David Lewis. David's from Belleville, right around us here. But this kid's got like 100,000 followers on Facebook and stuff like that. And they come to hear him sing, and they do a thing called the Gunslingers. The Guitar Slingers. I thought I had it right. So the Guitar Slingers, and they sing their songs, and they all back each other up, and it's an incredible show. Of course, we're going to come out and start the show and start with our songs. And my son Jimmy, he'll come up. His new song is called Kansas. It's out, by the way, on Spotify and Apple Music, where also my song that he wrote is out on Spotify and Apple Music. So I think I've said everything they told me to say.
You did, Bill. I think we're new friends. We know people. We're in the same circle there. But ladies and gentlemen, veteran hit country singer-songwriter Bill Nash and his son Jimmy Nash have a new 5-song tribute EP, Oh Hank, honoring the musical legacy and artistic style of Hank Williams Sr. And the first single from the EP, Locked in Your Loving Arms, written and produced by Jimmy Nash and sung by Bill, has been released, and with the full EP becoming available everywhere digitally on Friday, June the 6th on, well, I guess it's by Cloverdale Music. So you need to check that out, download it, enjoy it. And I'm going to have Bill Nash come back. And you know what, Bill? I think I'm going to have you and Kim together on the second interview. And once I read your book, Saint, Sinner, Singer, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into more of who you are as well as Kim. And that way you can tell that incredible story. But ladies and gentlemen, again, brand new EP, Oh Hank, coming Friday, June the 6th. You're going to enjoy the song. If you love Hank Williams Sr., you're going to love every single song on this EP. And Bill, I want to thank you for your time today. And I can't wait for the next time.
I'll tell you, Ward, it's been a great experience. You know what? Sometimes the host of a show can get you more uptight with how they present themselves and how they ask the questions. Man, I feel like, I've known you forever. I mean, you are a great host, and I'm not just buttering you up. You've already done all the plug. I couldn't ask you for anything more. My goodness, thank you. But well, I appreciate the easiness.
You are very welcome, Bill. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Oh Hank, the new EP coming out Friday, June the 6th. Get it, download it, listen to it, enjoy it. If you have to dance to it, dance to it. It's a great collection of songs. So we're going to have Bill Nash coming back very soon, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into his musical legacy and hear some of the greatest stories ever told. So I want to thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.